Hi everyone, welcome to today's webinar. My name is McKay Allen. I'm the Inbound Marketing Manager at Log My Calls, and we're glad you're here today. We have a special webinar today with Eric Pfeiffer from Lander, and we'll introduce him in a moment and he can get started. Has a great presentation for us all today. First, a couple of quick announcements. First thing is, a lot of people often ask is, who is Log My Calls? Why do you host these webinars? What's the deal? So to give you some background, Log My Calls is a call tracking and call analytics solution. So we tell marketers which ads, campaigns, and keywords generate calls, and then we actually analyze the calls to determine what happened on the calls themselves. So we can tell you whether it was a good lead or a bad lead, whether it was somebody that was interested in your product, whether they purchased, whether they set an appointment, whatever your goal for a conversion is, we can extract that data out of phone calls and provide that to you. So our audience then is marketers. And so we thought, what better way to get marketers familiar with our brand than to produce really, really useful webinars and partner with awesome companies like Lander to produce excellent content. So that's the focus. So we host 1 to 2 webinars a week. We have this webinar today about landing pages. Next week we have webinars about local SEO. The week after that we have some webinars about reputation management. So really good content, have some great presenters. So I encourage you to go to logmycalls.com/webinar. logmycalls.com/webinar, and we will you'll get invites to webinars. You'll see our upcoming webinars, and you can register for those. You can watch our past webinars as well. The second bit, this webinar is being recorded, so we'll email this webinar recording to you tomorrow morning, so you can share that within your organization. We also encourage you to share it via social media as well. And then finally, we want you to ask questions. Throughout the presentation, write your questions in. If they're timely, I'll interrupt Eric and ask him the question verbally. Otherwise, we'll save a few of them at the end, until the end. So with that, thank you very, very much for being here today. I want to introduce Eric. He's an account manager at Lander. He works with a lot of companies to help them develop their landing pages and helps them with best practices on their landing pages. He's truly an expert. Lander's done a couple webinars with us. They're a great partner. And we're really excited that they've agreed to join us today. So Eric, go ahead, sir.
Okay, McKay, thanks for the introduction. I do appreciate it, and thanks for the invite. As you did mention, my name is Eric. I'm the account manager for Lander. We're going to be covering a lot of ground in this webinar. Got a lot of slides here and a lot of things to discuss. If you have some paper and maybe a pen, you might want to take some notes here and there. So having said that, let's just jump into the agenda, 8 tips to boost conversions. What I'm going to do is discuss the 8 different tips that we're going to be featuring during this webinar. Some of those I may spend a little bit more time than others. So like I mentioned, if you want to take notes. Going to be discussing key elements to designing a successful landing page, kind of like the fundamentals, the foundations of what makes a landing page, what it looks like. We're going to get into discussions about A/B testing and also multivariant testing, which Lander actually offers, and hopefully spend a little bit of time on mobile landing page tips as well. So, okay, one of the first points: designing a fresh landing page. I have written here: advertising is useless unless it points prospects toward targeted information that leads them to convert. And an effective landing page can bridge the gap between advertisements and salespeople. And I've got a few interesting facts here I wanted to throw out while I'm on this slide here. I have mentioned here 68% of B2B businesses are using landing pages to earn new business. So you see the importance of landing pages right there, and that comes from Marketing Sherpa. And I wanted to add a couple more facts. I don't remember exactly where I did record these, but they're very interesting. For every $92 spent acquiring customers, only $1 of that 92 is generally spent on actual conversion. And also a survey of online businesses concluded that of the different companies that were involved in the survey, 54% cited a lack of resources, and 35% cited budget issues as the leading barriers. I like to mention excuses, not really leading barriers, that they named to improving conversion rates. So conversion is important. Is it necessarily the highest conversion? Not necessarily. I really think it's more about a consistent conversion rate. I think that's what we want to see with our campaigns. And I want you to write this down. Remember these quick points. Conversion is about focus, okay? You're going to hear me mention that a lot. It's about targeting, and it's about a targeted, focused experience. And landing pages are about providing a simple, highly focused experience for your visitors without all the distraction. Your website is different from your landing page. They behave in two different ways. And your website is your online address, so to speak. It's not designed with focus like a landing page is and should be, or a true landing page. Your website is really designed really to kind of give people a complete, kind of a more generalized overview of you, your business, and your services, your products, or what there's about. However, your landing pages are designed for conversion and getting visitors to take a specific desired action period. So I just wanted to mention that. Encapsulating the call to action. We'll start first with discussing the call to action. What is a call to action? Let's mention that. Your call to action is the key to getting your visitors to convert. Your call to action is basically the simple, brief content that you're going to use on your landing page that's going to prompt your visitors to take a specific or a specified direct action. That action could be, that content could be something like sign up now or get your free ebook here. Whatever that specific action is, you need to make sure you actively tell your visitors on your landing pages exactly what they need to do at all times. So the call to action is about that. I like to mention that when your visitors land on your landing page, in essence what you want the content to do, and specifically the call to action, is kind of take the visitor by the hand and kind of guide them right to what they need to do, to what action that they need to take. And that's about focusing, their attention as you're guiding them through, as they read the content from the headline down to the subheadline, and the different supporting bullet points of the offer, whatever the offer might be. And you don't want to just throw up any old call to action, like submit or necessarily click here. Now those may be good call to actions for your particular campaign. However, it's really important, I like to mention, that you need to really research your call to action before you start designing any landing page. Not only just the whole content of the landing page, especially the call to action, because it's really important. Because the call to action is going to be the trigger that's going to get people to take a specific action. So don't just throw up any old call to action up on your landing page just to kind of see what sticks and see what works. You need to do the research beforehand. And here the key word is encapsulate, encapsulating the call to action. Encapsulation focuses the visitor's attention toward the most important information on your landing pages. These are powerful visual tools that you can use to focus your visitors' attention towards your CTA. For example, if you see here on the slide, you see the call to action button there. It's real simple, just says click. It's encircled. This is kind of forcing the visitor's eye to see it. You can also use directional arrows, and a lot of folks with Lander use directional arrows. They'll add like an image of a directional arrow maybe to the side of the form next to where the call to action button is, just kind of pointing to the call to action. That's a really good way, or pointing down towards the form. It's kind of guiding the gaze or the view of the visitor as they're on their page. Because remember, these landing pages have only a few seconds really to work, so you need to be continually doing that. And also, I've seen a lot of users in a very clever way use some photography, say maybe a photo of the CEO or someone in the company with like a gesture of the hands or their arms towards the form or towards the call to action. I really like these. These are really clever. I see a lot of folks using those. And these are different ways that you can encapsulate your call to action and create, kind of drive the gaze of the visitor, so to speak, towards that action that you want them to take on that landing page. Move important information above the fold. This is really important. This really applies to long landing pages. I'll mention the fold here. What the fold is, for those of you who maybe aren't sure, when you reach a long landing page and the bottom of the view on your screen, where in order to see the rest of the landing page you have to scroll, generally that area, the boundary between the two, that is called the fold. And there's an important aspect about landing pages we need to remember. It's called the blink test. This is basically the first 3 to 5 seconds when a visitor lands on your page and they decide whether the ad they've clicked on has taken them to the right place, or the banner or the link or whatever it might be. That, hey, this is what was promised on the ad. Here I'm on the landing page. I'm seeing the same thing. Everything needs to line up. Everything needs to be relevant. And all this has to happen in basically 8 to 10 seconds or less. So That's why you want to keep your call to action above the fold, your headline above the fold, your subheadline, those bullet points, any of the trust symbols, and we're going to discuss those in another slide. Anything that's important that's going to be really relevant towards the quick confirmation of the visitor that they're in the right place and that this is the right offer. Now, one piece of advice, if your landing page is long, and it does go below the fold, because with Lander, with some templates, we do have templates that allow you to have a long copy landing page with a form at the bottom, just repeat the call to action above the fold or below the fold. Don't add a different call to action. Remember, this is one offer per landing page. You don't want to try to put 2 offers or 3 offers up on one landing page. In other words, 2 or 3 different call to actions. You don't want that. It's a big no-no. So if you have a long landing page that's going below the fold, if you have some important information already above the fold, for example, your call to action, just repeat it somewhere below the fold. Okay, so that's an important point to remember there. Get creative with copywriting. Spend a little time with this here. I've got some interesting notes on this. It's all about action-oriented language, and it's all about clarity with your landing page. Remember I mentioned we've only got 8 to 10 seconds, okay? So everything has to work really quickly towards verifying to the visitor that what's being promised and whatever it was they clicked on to get here is still being promised on the landing page, that they can understand it clearly, that there's no ambiguity as they're reading your content. So not only does copywriting content need to be down to a minimum, but it needs to be creative and direct. And I got 4 or 5 points here, and I'd like for you guys to write these down if you can. The first point, use value-oriented language in your copy. In other words, convince your visitors in your copy that the time they'll spend filling out your form is going to be worth the wait. So that's one of the aspects to think about when writing your copy. And I do want to mention you should have your copy written before you start designing your landing page. Write that down as well. Okay, the second point is it's crucial not to just explain the features of your product or your service, but the benefits of those features to the visitor. Every visitor, when they land on your landing page, the first thing they're asking is, what is in it for me? What is in it for me? It's not about us. It's not about our offer, okay? It's not about who we are or what we do. It's about our visitors. It's about and how our offer is going to benefit them and provide them the solution that they're looking for. And the third point is use reader keywords. And these are certain keywords sprinkled throughout your copy that the visitor will look for while scanning your copy that's going to help them understand not only what the offer is about, but also reassure them that this landing page that they've just clicked through to is related to the original call to action in the link or the banner, ad, or page that they've just come from. Make sure you confirm this for them. So the call to action on your landing page should match the call to action on wherever the link was that brought them there in the first place. You need to continue confirming them through all the steps. And number 4, go for clarity over creativity. I know it mentions creativity in here, and that's great. Getting creative with copywriting, especially for beginners, might be a little bit more challenging, so I would go over the direct and the clarity before the creativity. After you get a little bit of experience, you can branch out with a little bit more on the creative side. But I've just got mentioned here, think of the simplest, most direct way to speak to your visitors without using any kind of flair, any kind of fluffy language, and another big no-no is any type of weighty marketing speak, you know. Don't try to impress your readers by, you know, how much marketing knowledge you have with all kinds of big statistics and big words, because this can detract from the core of your message on your copy. Remember, we've got 8 to 10 seconds to work with. So normally, landing page copy works best with about 5 lines of content or so, basically broken up with different headers, you know, some bold text, maybe some italics, some check marks or bullet points next to some benefits, maybe 3 or 4 benefits of whatever your product or service is going to provide the visitor. Make everything easily digestible. And the final point I have here is proofread for errors always. Proofread for errors always. Make sure you don't make any mistakes in your copy. Looks really bad if you do that. So, test to success. So we're going to get into this a little bit more in-depth later in the webinar, but basically I'm going to mention this point, I'm going to mention it later. You need to A/B test because lying on hunches, gut feelings, and guesswork in your marketing efforts online, landing pages are the same, it's not good business strategy. Your landing pages are your conversion think tanks, your conversion testing labs, so to speak. And you can't and you won't get better at improving your conversion rates without A/B testing and learning to do it. We'll focus on that a little bit later. as we get down the line. And that brings us to this next one, bring video into the mix. I love video. Video is really important. I've got a quick fact on here that says in some studies, I think this also came from Marketing Sherpa, I should have wrote that down. In some studies, videos have been shown to improve conversion rates by as much as 80% or more. And not just any old videos. The videos need to be generally, I like to say 2 to 3 minutes max. Less is even better. Because remember, we're dealing with focus, and the attention span of our visitors is going to be really brief on the landing pages, so everything needs to work quickly. And I've got mentioned here, video can kind of serve as an equalizer for your visitors, especially for those that are just kind of passing through. Maybe they're not sure how they landed on the landing page. Use a video to kind of grab them and hold their attention, kind of get them to stay longer. Maybe, for example, I'll give you some examples. Maybe a step-by-step video tutorial that kind of shows the way your product or service is being used. Maybe an online quick message from your CEO. Lots of startups use these to connect with new customers. And my favorite, this is my favorite, customer testimonial videos. Besides product videos, like videos that show the product being used, I like customer testimonials. They're really powerful, and I've seen users with Lander that have had big boosts on conversions by using videos. So they're a powerful motivator, and you definitely should use them. And the seventh point here, removing navigation. If you see there, we have we actually took a copy of Lander's navigation bar there from our website. Notice not a landing page, a website. And this is one of the main, and I say that because this is one of the main principles that separates a landing page from a website. It's navigation and navigation bars. The best landing pages don't have navigation bars. Why is that? Well, it removes distraction, number one, but also it's going to force the visitor to take in the content that's on the page. And instead of using the navigation, it'll also work well with, remember how I mentioned earlier in one of the slides about encapsulation, about the visual cues, the arrows, the images of people in your company or your CEO, for example, suggesting, pointing towards the form or towards the call to action. Basically, just remove navigation. You don't want nav bars. Your landing page is not a website. Navigation, and I'll tell you, if you have visitors that come into your landing page and there's any kind of navigation there, any kind of clicks, 9 times out of 10, they're going to click right off the landing page. They're not going to fill out your form. They're not going to click on your call to action. I don't know why. It's just the nature of the way people do search, and it's very risky. You're giving them too many avenues or too many outs. What you want to do is focus their attention. There's that word again, focus. What's our focus? Our offer. What's our focus? Our call to action. You want them to fill out that form. You want them to click on that call to action. You want them to make that purchase. You want them to give you your information. And nav bars, links, any of that kind of stuff it's just gonna create a whole world of distraction for your visitors. Okay, and 8, show off with social media. Your social media strategy is going to be, it's not going to be much without a share-friendly landing page. Social media is obviously a huge part of growing a business, but there's also a psychological advantage to showing shares and likes. I've got written here, social proof or informational social influence means people will naturally be inclined to imitate a popular action. It's kind of like the following the herd theory, I guess, or what's popular, what's in, what's cool, There are plenty of options out there, like Facebook sharing and follow buttons, embedding tweets, or just numbers of subscribers or customers. And with Lander, you can do this. We have several social widgets that you can add to your landing pages, and this is really good. However, I do want to mention a quick word of caution. Depending on your campaign, you may not want to put your social links directly on the landing page itself. Depending on your campaign. There's no hard and fast rules about that, but because that could also be a distraction from your offer and from your call to action. However, with Lander, what we give you is what's called a thank you page or a confirmation page that you can set up from the form to where they have to fill out the form first. They have to opt in first. Then the thank you page comes up. Then on the thank you page, that's a great place to show off all your social linking so that they can link up with you through social media and different things like that. Just a little word of caution, just a little tip I wanted to throw out there if you want to write that down. Depends on your campaign, though. Some campaigns will definitely benefit from having the social links on the landing pages, maybe like newsletter signups or blogs or different things like that. So just be a little bit leery about that, okay? Key elements to successful landing page design. Okay, we're going to go into 5 key elements towards having successful landing page design, and another word of caution. These recommendations are kind of based on industry best practices. However, if you just stick with these best practices, there's no guarantee. Okay, there's no guarantee. It's a good baseline. It'll give you a good foundation, but there's really not a lot of really hard and fast rules. A lot of things are going to come through testing and through trial by error. That's what's going to help you get your conversion rates up and get them and keep them consistent. And I mentioned that here in my notes. Perform A/B tests and find out which aspects of your design is going to work and which don't. So the first one, make a great first impression. And here is a landing page by the beatsbydre.com folks, and it's the UR Beats earphone landing page. And what I've got mentioned here is first impressions lead to higher satisfaction, and it's more important in many aspects than usability for the users, because a first impression can leave a lasting impression. What's cool about this landing page, look how simple it is. There's not a lot to digest on that page. Everything works together. There's the call to action, add to cart, and look at this great big close-up image, this really big close-up image of the actual earphone itself. They give you a good view of it, and I like the colors, the black and red. It's real simple. Simplicity is really big with landing pages. You don't want a lot of flashy stuff going on. You don't want a lot of imagery. The aesthetics of landing page design versus website design is very different. So and I've got mentioned here, it's got a premium look and feel, and it matches the premium quality of the earphones that they sell as well. They're good quality earphones. So kudos to those guys. They're doing a good job with that landing page. Okay, visually emphasize the most important elements. Visually emphasize the most important elements. If you want to direct your visitors to the most important part of your landing page, you're going to need to emphasize this visually. And what's one of the first thing that we see that's standing out? One of the most important aspects of a landing page besides the call to action? Look at the headline, Content Strategy for Mobile. Very clear, no ambiguity, no guesswork there. She's got some pictures of the book here that you can see, of the different chapters, a picture of the cover, a few different cover selections you can have there, a blue one and a gray one. Look, I want to mention, your headline is the gatekeeper of your landing page, and generally the first phrase of bold text the visitors should see. It should contain the unique value proposition of what you're offering. What's the value proposition here? It's a content strategy for mobile. It's all right there. It's very clear. And this is a challenge too, because the headline is usually just one phrase of text, but yet it's so important. So, and if you don't have a headline, you don't have a landing page. I see lots of folks that have landing pages and they don't even have a headline, and the headline's important. Also, from a visual perspective, you should use a prominent product image or video to get them excited. And there she's using an actual image. For those of you who are thinking about putting up ebooks, you need to have a cover for your ebook, and take note of what she's done here with this landing page. You can see an actual cover of the book. And it's called Content Strategy for Mobile by Karen McGrain. Yeah, it's a great book, and I like how the product image and the call to action buttons are kind of all together. So really, really cool. Okay, make use of white space. I talk with a lot of users a lot of times, and a big error I think they make, especially with new landing page creators, is that we kind of have the idea that designing a landing page is like a website. We need to have all kinds of information all coming at once, and we need to have 12 different images and different things and fill up all this space that we got. No, use white space to your advantage. A web page that is cluttered and has very little white space is a web page that's not going to convert ever, because it's just going to visually it's just going to overload your visitors. Remember, we're talking about focus. There's that word again, focus. Conversions is about focus and about simplicity. So, and part of what can create that kind of clutter is the use of gaudy, flashy, or extravagant images. And I've got a little tidbit here. An A/B split test, the folks over at HubSpot had found that using too many over-the-top images distracts on your landing page rather than helps the conversion goals. And it also, here's another big point, it also is going to increase the download time of your landing page. And if your landing pages take a long time to download, folks are going to bail. So keep it simple and use the white space and the lack of clutter and the focus, once again, to focus your user's attention on what's important, which is the call to action. It's not necessarily a landing page. I know it's Lullabot's website, which is designed kind of like a landing page. I know this is kind of a growing trend, but I wanted to show this example because it uses white space really effectively. The white space is framing and focusing the attention on the most important elements. And where are those? Where are those important elements? The graphical logo, there it is. The value proposition, right at the top, you see the little robot, hi, we're Lullabot. And the red ribbon or banner with the call to action. So really simple. They're doing a good job with that. And here we go. Use visual proof points. Just take a quick sip of water here. And this is kind of leading back towards social proof. Social proof helps to build trust with your website visitors, and customer testimonials do a great job of building that social proof. But visual elements can also greatly boost your social trust building efforts. Using high-quality logos from some of your most prominent customers that you've done business with in the past is really important. Using trust seals or awards icons. How many of you have landed on these landing pages and then just above the fold you've seen like logos of like Pepsi or American Airlines or this company or that, familiar brands? Those are trust symbols. And two things that work against conversions is tension and trust. And you need to be constantly reducing tension while increasing trust. And when they see that, hey, this is a company or a business that's done business with some very reputable brands, this is more confirmation for them that, hey, I can trust them, I can do business with them, and it's really important. So use those and keep those above the fold. And here, the social proof here is above the fold. And this is the folks over at Sprout Social, and they feature attractive logos of some of their more prominent customers to show potential new customers. What are they trying to prove? Hey, you can trust Sprout Social to be the thought leader in social analytics space. And there's some of the pictures of those customers there. The logo area has actually been reduced. It's not prominent. They've put the focus on customers who have experienced satisfaction through using the service. So it's like they've taken the focus off, more so off of them and focused that more on their actual customers. And that's really important because remember, people are always asking, what's in it for me? And here they can see some proof here by some folks who have had a degree of success by using this service. And I think they do that pretty well. I really like that page as well. Proximity can help or hurt you. When designing your landing page, be careful where you position your elements in relation to each other. Don't just jumble up everything in any old format. And here's a quote by Brian Eisenberg. He says that by placing elements next to each other, you can confuse your visitors. And Eisenberg, this is an example I think that came from a webinar he did in the past. He used this example of an online retailer who placed text about children's movies next to a search box. And visitors thought the search box was exclusive only for searching for just children's movies. It was a big mistake. And look at this example here. Look at everything that's coming at you. There's so many colors and so many, and it looks really cool, but the fact of the matter is you're going to have to think too much and look too much for exactly what you want or whatever it is that you're going to be searching for. And it's going to bog things down. It's going to hurt your eyes. It's going to just make things too weighty. So don't clutter things up like this landing page has done. Okay, now we're going to get into some big important stuff here. One of my favorites, how to run A/B tests that bring big landing page results. Remember, I said earlier, you need to A/B test because lying on the hunches or gut feelings and guesswork is not a good business strategy. Okay? When you're conducting A/B testing, what's cool about this is that your customers and page visitors, I've got written here, they're sort of giving you a gift. What kind of a gift? They're the ones that are going to be telling you what they like and what they don't like about your online marketing and your landing pages. They're going to tell you through your A/B tests, through the data that you're going to get, how you can get better results and bring your conversion rates up. So A/B testing is super important. How to run an A/B test that brings big landing page results. And here we have an example of some split variants, a split test, an A version and a B version. A/B testing, sometimes called split testing, involves comparing one variant of your landing page to another. And in other words, an A page against a B page which has been slightly modified in some way. These are both the same landing page. They're going to be both linked to the same URL. And I'll compare this in a way that the way Lander works. What you can do with Lander is you can actually create a C version, an A, B, and a C, or a multivariant test. Or if you just want to run an A/B test with Lander, you can do that too. You can duplicate a variant, make a slight modification, and the hopes of bringing a different result. And what happens is Lander will split all of your incoming traffic towards those two variants. In other words, all of your incoming traffic, for every 10 visits that clicks on the link to your landing page, 5 are going to see the A version with the red link, and another 5 are going to see the green version with the green link. So let's say that you've launched this landing page and you've seen a dip in your conversion rate. It's starting to go down, and you want to bring that conversion rate back up. Well, that's what you're going to do. You're going to duplicate your landing page, create another variant within the landing page, and you're going to start looking at different things that you can start testing. And one of the things I want to caution on, and a big mistake that a lot of folks make, is they try to test too many elements at one time. You need to choose one element or one aspect of your landing page and test it. For example, let's say you have 2 different headlines using a few different keywords that you've researched that you found that your target audience has been using quite a bit in the search for your offer. You're going to put one on this version and the other one on the other version, but you're not going to test anything else. And there's really no hard and fast rules as far as how long you should test, but I would say generally 30 days or until you have a large enough sample size of visitors that you can compare the conversion rate with the B variant to the A variant and say, okay, this headline was more, won out, let's say. So you can test almost anything, but just make sure that you test one element at a time. So what landing page elements are you going to be testing? Headlines, subheadlines, copy and content. Headlines. Your headline is kind of the it's the doorkeeper, it's the gate, it's the bait of your landing page. It's what's going to guarantee that the rest of your landing page gets read. So it's important. Your subheadline should have one benefit of your product or service and support the headline above it. Copy and content. You want to keep it down to a minimum. It needs to work. Remember, you got 8 to 10 seconds or so to work with here. And of course, graphics and images. You can test different images. You can test different images of your customers. You can test different images of your CEO even. You can test different call to action buttons. You can test the different call to actions on those buttons, different color for call to action buttons. You can A/B test form length, a short form as opposed to a long form. Oh, there's so many things. This is actually just a small snippet of different elements you can test. And you can even test videos. Excuse me. Let's say you have 2 or 3 different customer testimonial videos, and maybe you're not sure if one is better than the other. Well, you can create a variant, a B variant of your A variant of your landing page, and put one video on one variant, one video on the other, run the test, and at the end, get some real results. And this is all about removing guesswork. Excuse me. This is about having real data to work with. If you don't A/B test, your conversion rates are never going to get better. You're going to have low conversion. You're going to get frustrated. You're going to burn out. You must A/B test to keep your conversion rate consistent. It's not so much about getting the highest conversion rate, but about a consistent conversion rate. Okay, 2 real-life landing page A/B testing success stories. Okay, and here we see 4 different form type views here, and you can see the call to action button. The call to action is the same on each one, but they have different colors. And obviously a click on either one of those equals a conversion. In this test, version A was the control, or the A in the A/B test. Version D was the B in the A/B test. And in version D, they decided to run this A/B test and change the color of the button to blue. Look, a simple change. We're talking about sometimes the most simplest changes can bring the biggest conversion results. All they did was just change the color of the call to action button. They didn't change any of the copy or anything else in the form. And I have marked down here that the end result was just by changing the color of this button from brown to blue meant a 17% lift on conversions. It may not sound like much, but that's actually a pretty good hefty conversion rate lift just right off the bat just by changing the color. I'm imagining that they probably tested some other elements later and maybe even brought that up even higher. And if they can keep that conversion rate up and consistent throughout the length of the campaign, kudos to them. Okay, 2 real-life landing page A/B testing success stories. Here's another one. Here's another one. This is from the folks over at The Guardian. It's a, I'm sure you guys are familiar with it. It's a news website from over in the UK, and they have an online dating subscription service called Soulmates. Well, the folks over at Soulmates, or the folks over at The Guardian, were experiencing a high. This is so typical. They were experiencing a lot of traffic, but the conversion rate was low. All right, and they wanted to bring it up. And they discovered that there's some confusion that was being created with their visitors. And they discovered that the visitors were perceiving incorrectly that the choice of members' profiles to browse would actually be limited. And after, I don't know how they came to that conclusion, but they discovered that. And you look here and you notice that the first landing page image shows only one profile with a button that says join now for free, just one profile. Okay, it's understandable this page could limit page registrations, don't you agree? I mean, it seems that way. It's just one member profile, one simple call to action. So in the A/B test that was run, this page was left as the control A page. Okay, so this was the A variant, let's say. And in the next slide, we're going to see what they tested and the B variant that they created. And you'll see some big differences here. Okay, what did they do? On the B page, the call to action button to sell direct signups was removed. You see it's gone. You don't see it anymore. And what they wanted to do was make it clearer to users that they actually had many profiles available to view and searching. So what did they do? They added an easily accessible and simple to use search form. And there it is on the left. And remember, whereas the A page showed only one member's headshot, and this was giving the impression that it was limited, now they had added several headshots, and they're grayed out there because those are private images of people, along with a benefit-oriented headline. Find great dates. Where's that at? You can see it there was also added, and they added a headline to it. So you compare the first landing page, which gave many visitors the distinct impression that their search options were kind of limited, and then compare it to this one that gave their visitors, the members that there, or the impression there's a lot of profiles that they could search and contact. What was the result, you may be asking? Of the 46% increase in conversions just by doing that. 46, that's even double than what the other one was. If you can get 17% off, like on the first one, just by changing the color of the button, and then get another 20 or so % or more just by doing these simple changes, now you see the importance of A/B testing and why it's such a big deal. So there it is. What's the bottom line? A/B testing works, and then you're going to see it. You see an example of how A/B testing is done with Lander. That's an actual screenshot of a Lander account, and you see not only one, not only two, but three. With us, you have multivariant testing. You can actually test 3 different variants. So you can test 3 different elements, 3 different versions of the same element at one time, let's say. And then in the end, you could compare the conversion rates and choose the variant that wins out. So A/B testing is really important. You can do a lot of research about it on Google. We also have a lot of cool blog posts on Lander that talk a lot about A/B testing. It's really important. Now, let's go into mobile landing page tips. Real simple. But although I say this is an area of weakness, and I mentioned that, I see especially with some folks starting out with creating mobile landing pages, I'm sorry. I've seen on a lot of mobile landing pages that first-timers have a tendency to overthink and add too much overkill on their mobile versions. However, they shouldn't do that. It's making things more difficult, and also the fact that mobile is such an important growing online trend. I got written down here that some Cyber Monday estimates, remember back in November, were that 4 out of every 10 online purchases during Cyber Monday were made from mobile devices. That is huge. So you could be missing out on a potential huge portion of the market. With Lander, any landing page templates that you launch have a mobile version that you can activate and you can customize. So 4 big points. Make it snappy, focus on visibility, make conversion easy, and analyze and test. Make it snappy. What do we mean, make it snappy? Well, download times. Remember, most folks, I think, have a tendency to overthink stuff. Keep your mobile pages simple and snappy. Mobile users expect mobile sites to load at least as fast or faster than designs for regular desktops. Actually, faster. Really, you have about 4 or 5 seconds. So if your mobile visitors have to wait too long for your mobile pages to load, they're going to bail, and they're going to move on to the competition. So what do you need to do? Keep copy down to a minimum. Make the fonts as large as possible. Compress any and all images. I really wouldn't even use video on your mobile landing page really, because that could affect the download time as well. So keep it simple. Don't overthink your mobile version. Remember, think about your visitor with that smartphone in their hand or that tablet, and think about and look at your landing page. Is this going to be difficult? I mean, am I finding difficulty myself in navigating my little mobile version here? And is the button too small? Should I make the form larger? So make everything as big and as easy for them to navigate and see, and make it snappy. Focus on visibility. Another big one. You need to ensure that there's a lot of high contrast in all your mobile pages, text, and backgrounds. You need to use color and size to emphasize the priority of your links and buttons on your mobile pages, because folks look, when folks are searching online, they're kind of scanning, they're breezing over stuff, they're not reading. So that's why you need to keep your copy down to a minimum on your landing page. People are just not going to read all that stuff. You'll get some that will, but generally they're not. They want to go right to the punchline. They want the confirmation that I've landed in the right place, what was promised on the ad is being promised on the page. Okay, here's the call to action, here's the form, let's get in touch, bam, done. You know, like I said, 8 to 10 seconds, and it's even more important with mobile. You got less, you got 5, 6 seconds max. So make sure your content fits on screen, you know, and so it can be read without zooming or pinching, because that's going to create, people are going to get annoyed with that. So make sure it's nice and big, and make your CTA buttons nice and big. I just believe in making everything as big as you can on the mobile page without it being exaggeratingly so. Because everybody hates those, I got written here, everybody hates those mobile pages, those tiny little CTA buttons trying to click on that tiny little screen. It's a pain, so make them bigger. And another thing I wanted to mention here, you can do what we call user testing or usability testing. If you're not sure about any of your landing pages, put them in front of a fresh set of eyes of somebody that you know or somebody unobjective and say, hey, what do you think about this landing page? Is it easy to use? Is there anything that's you'd be surprised how much information you can glean just on random other folks who would see your page. Because they're going to be looking unobjectively at it, and they're going to tell you, and you're going to see things that could be wrong on your landing pages. So, mobile landing page tips: make conversion easy. Scroll menus, checkbox, lists. These are all great ways to simplify the data entry for your mobile users. Keep your mobile page form short and sweet and nice and simple. Don't try to cram in 15 different fields in your form. People aren't going to fill it out. It's probably not going to fit anyway. And if you're asking them to make a direct purchase from your mobile pages, minimize the number of steps needed to complete any transactions and make it as easy as pie for them to complete. You know, the folks here at Log My Calls, your mobile versions would be a great place or a great landing page to link up with the service that they offer. People can, you know, call directly right from the mobile version. They're right there on the phone or on the tablet, so bear that in mind as well. Basically, just make everything easy and simple. Simplify everything as much as possible. Analyze and test, of course. You can A/B test on your mobile versions as well, and you can see this is a typical conversion chart with Lander, a view, a screenshot view, showing you know, the conversion rate across the board with the campaign. And we'll get into Google Analytics. With Lander, you can integrate easily with Google Analytics. It's a great tool. It's a free service. You can create a free account with them. Google Analytics is going to enable you to understand how mobile users, and you can integrate this on your regular landing pages as well, not just your mobile versions, but it's going to help you to understand how mobile users journey through your site and kind of how they're engaging with it. And the best mobile platforms like Lander also offer you, the A/B testing, like that's what I'm mentioning here. This way you can implement your analytics findings and gauge your pages' improved performance in real time. In other words, if you have a video on there, More than likely not in your mobile version, but you'd be able to get some deeper insight in where are they coming from, where are they going, how much time are they spending on my mobile version. I think analytics has a heat map. I'm not, if I recall. You'd be able to get where you can see where they're clicking on the landing page the most, and that's going to give you an idea of where they're looking, where they're not looking. Just important data as to how your visitors engaging with your landing pages. And mobile is a great place to do that. And of course, with Lander, you can integrate Google Analytics very easily. And of course, once again, testing, and then testing some more. So A/B testing is huge. It's super important. If you're not testing your landing pages, they aren't getting any better. So always be testing. And only test one element at a time. Don't try to test too much stuff all at one time. Don't try to test your call to action and your headline. Or don't try to test your customer video, and your form length. No, you need to choose one. Okay, this month I'm going to test the form length. And you'll gradually get that landing page so optimized that you just have a nice, consistent, solid conversion rate. Okay, getting towards the end of the webinar here. Cool. I'm going to start 3 quick landing page mistakes that crush conversions. Go through these real quick. Blowing the headline. Remember, as I said earlier, your headline is the doorkeeper, it's the gatekeeper, it's the bait. The headline is going to be generally the first piece of bold text, and it's going to guarantee whether people are going to scan through the rest of the landing page or bail. So you need to have a headline. Don't just throw up any headline that you think is going to stick, like I mentioned earlier about call to action. You need to research your headline. It needs to have your value proposition, your unique value proposition of your offer or your service or product somewhere in the headline. It's a challenge because it's only one sentence of text. And remember, no headline is no landing page. I don't care what anybody says. You've got to have a headline for it to be a landing page. Number 2, ignoring basic aesthetics. Remember that slide I showed earlier that showed all these images? I think it was a Fandango site. Showed all this competing imagery and color and stuff. It was just overkill. It was just too much, and it was almost like painful to look at. Use the white space, like I mentioned. Use white space to your advantage, because that way the focus will be on the important elements, your call to action, your video if it's there, your headline if it's there. Maybe you've got a simple directional arrow, once again, pointing towards the form, pointing towards the call to action, the power of suggestion. Maybe a picture of your CEO gesturing towards the form. Hey, why don't you fill out this form? That kind of thing. It's all very powerful tools to use. Number 3, having the call to action below the page fold. Once again, we discussed that, the fold being the limit to where you have to scroll down further to see the rest of the landing page. Don't have more than one call to action. Each call to action has its own offer, which has its own landing page, which has its own campaign. So don't try to throw up 2 or 3 different offers and different call to actions and just create confusion. Online marketers use what they call the paradox of choice, which basically means too many choices means I take no choice at all. So keep one call to action, one offer per landing page, and if you have a long form landing page, just repeat that same call to action below the fold, and that's what we mean there. It's going to be above the fold, obviously. You're going to have your headline and above the fold, and then just repeat it again somewhere below the fold, so that way you're continually reassuring them as they scroll along. So I think we're coming towards the end. McKay, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, I was trying to be wary of time here, so I don't know if there's any questions out there.
We actually have some really good questions, Eric. If you want to take those now, we've got about 10-15 minutes before we need to close up. Do you want to take questions right now?
Sure, that'll be fine. Sure.
Perfect. So James asked a question. He says, this is, I think, an opportunity for you to talk about your service a little bit. He says, and forgive me for mentioning a competitor, but we all know there's competitors in various spaces, including ours. How does Lander App compare to other tools like Unbounce and others like that? How is Lander App different? Where do you guys say your differentiator is? Talk about that a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, I think that Lander, in my opinion, Lander is the right mix between still having a robust landing page platform, but also simplicity with the user experience. I've used Unbounce before. I find Unbounce a little bit more complicated. It's more geared towards maybe the landing page creator or marketer that has more coding experience. However, that doesn't mean with Lander you don't have that ability to do any of that as well. You do. I just think Lander's more pleasing on the eye. Like I mentioned, Unbounce to me has a very complicated looking editor, has a lot of functionality, but a lot of stuff happening. It can look a little intimidating, and I've heard that from our actual visitors. Some of the other ones, it's actually the other way. Some of them, they just felt like the templates were just kind of too static. Put your image here, that's where it goes. Put your headline here, that's where it goes. Well, with the Lander templates, you can do that. However, you can completely alter those templates if you want to. We put the complete control over your campaigns in your hands. You can make your landing pages look the way you want, and you'll find that the tool's easy to use. Pretty much everything's drag and drop. It's simple, and it doesn't take long to breach the learning curve with Lander and really get your landing pages up and running. So those are the main things I would throw out.
Perfect. And James, that must have been good for James because he said, fair enough. How long, yeah, this is an interesting question. Talk about copy on a landing page. Like, how long should copy be? How much copy should there be? Do you have a hard and fast rule for that, or does it just sort of depend on what you're doing? Obviously, simplicity wins the day, but how do you know when it's too much?
Well, that gets into some things we didn't discuss that wasn't part of the webinar, but it kind of depends on your target audience, the buyer personas that you're trying to reach, the way your target audience behaves towards making purchase or things that they do. There's some information on that. If you want to look at buyer personas, we have some information on our blog that talks about that. Really, I mean, yeah, there's no hard and fast rules, I'm sure, as you guys know. Kind of depends on the campaign. Some campaigns, may require a longer form landing page with some more copy. Generally, you can get by with, just thinking of a simple landing page. If the headline and the subheadline and 3 or 4 bullets or bullet points with supporting features or benefits of the offer or whatever it might be is a good start, and that might be something too that you can A/B test as well. I didn't mention that. I don't think you can A/B test copy. You can't, if you're not sure, hey, is there still a little bit too much ambiguity? Am I missing something here? Do I need to try adding a little bit more copy? Well, create a B variant of your landing page and add some more copy and test it out and see what happens. Yeah. So. That's a response. So, hello?
Hey, sorry, my mute was on. I had a great question, and I realized my mute was on.
That's okay.
So I was going. It was a beautifully worded question as well, and
yeah.
I realized that my light was not blinking. Okay, so landing pages through Lander, are they hosted on your servers, or can people host them on their own? How does that work via domains and servers and all that stuff through Lander?
Right. The landing page, right, they're always hosted with Lander. However, what you can do with a purchase of any of the paid plans is we do have custom domain features. Depending on the campaign and the business you have, on any of the, let's say, for example, I'll use as an example the small plan, which is $50 a month. That allows you to integrate email marketing apps like our other product, Doppler, MailChimp, Aweber, Constant Contact. It gives you 5 custom domains that you can use. What that means is any 5 domains that you already own, that you have hosted and registered, you can use to create unique URLs for as many landing pages as you want. So in essence, what you would do is create like a CNAME alias in your DNS settings pointed towards my Lander pages. So in essence, it's given the illusion that it's part of the domain, even though it's actually not. It's still hosted on Lander's domain. So that's the way that will work. Hopefully I answered that question completely.
No, that's great. Let's see here. So you talked about nav bars. How do you balance, because you showed, the one, Devore asked a question, he said you showed a good example of a landing page from Upbeats, I believe it was, from your Beats, the Beats by Dre site that had a nav bar at the top.
Yeah.
Is it okay sometimes? Is it okay if the nav bar goes to certain pages? Or is it a hard and fast rule, best practices, no nav bar?
Some really experienced marketers might be able to get away with like a very small nav bar. Then again, folks that are new to landing pages, or if you don't have a lot of experience with landing pages, I really wouldn't recommend it. The problem with nav bars is that, and you'll see if you do some research. I wish I had a case study to share with you. I don't, but I've read them, that folks have a tendency to leak. They're called links, but they're actually leaks. They'll have a tendency to leak right off your landing page. And not fill out that form. It's the same thing with folks they call me up and they say, hey, Eric, I got this $13,000 website, and you're telling me I need landing pages? Come on. Why can't I just embed my form with my offer on my website? Well, that's the problem. It's a huge risk because there's so many other links and places where the visitor can navigate, and what happens? They get distracted. It happened to me with a gentleman on the phone. He was telling me about how great his website was. It was a beautiful website, and he was telling me why, why should I use Lander and a Lander form, and I can just embed the form on my website? And as we were talking, I was wandering through the website, and I got lost in his website, and I could not find my way back to the page that had his form. And I said, sir, if you see my example here is loud and true. This is what's happening with your visitors. This is why you're contacting us about Lander, that you have a dismal conversion rate. And it's the same thing, nav bars on landing pages, yeah, I don't recommend it really. It depends on the campaign once again, but and the experience, I would say, of the person creating the landing pages for beginners. Yeah, you want all that focus to be on that call to action and on downloading that ebook or filling out that form or making that purchase. Anything else is going to be just creating risk and the potential to lose out on your conversion rate, to lose visitors.
Great. That makes a lot of sense. Yeah, and to piggyback off what you're saying, we've seen the same thing. There's no question nav bars generally are a bad idea. Yeah. Somebody asked a question about mobile landing pages. What's the best call to action on a mobile landing page? Let me take this for a sec if I can, because sure, we have some expertise in this, and then you can answer this one as well, Eric. So we have a lot of customers who use call tracking numbers on their mobile landing pages because of the ease of click-to-call. You just tap the number. So calls produce significantly higher conversion rates than web leads. So a caller, for example, across all industries, this is research we did with Site Tuners, Tim Ash, is across all industries, a caller is about 10 times more likely to purchase than someone who fills out a form. And so in a mobile environment, if you can get somebody to make a phone call, I would argue that a click-to-call number on that Lander page or whatever landing page is going to be a very useful call to action. So that would be my 2 cents, and I think you mentioned that during the webinar itself too, Eric. So any thoughts on that in addition?
No, yeah, I mean, absolutely. That's what I wanted to mention. They've already got the device in their hand, and using the service like what you guys offer, I would think on Lander's mobile version would be a boon for any users. That's why I wanted to mention that. And of course, with call to actions, once again, with Lander, for example, you have a mobile version and you have a classic version, the classical view or the desktop view. I mean, that's once again, a lot of that's going to come through testing. I would start out in the beginning with just keeping the call to action the same from the desktop version as well as your mobile version. And then, but it may not work. Through a lot of these questions, it's like I can say, yeah, you can try this, but then once again, that's why the focus I was putting on A/B testing. Maybe I didn't put enough focus on it, but the A/B testing is one of the most important aspects of landing page optimization and conversion marketing, and it's also one of the most challenging because a lot of it is just trial by error. A lot of it is, just the main thing is to keep it organized. If you're going to test some things on your mobile page, yeah, just test the call to action. Don't test the call to action and the headline. Keep everything methodical. And I would say to her, do the research beforehand on a good call to action, get it on there, test it, and then see what happens after a while. And if your conversion rate to your mobile is low, take a look at that call to action. Maybe you need a call to action that creates some more urgency, or maybe a lot of times we've seen here, even with Lander, with our users, I'm sure you guys have as well at Log My Calls, is that sometimes the most minuscule tweaks can be the biggest lift in conversion. So it could be just a simple change in your call to action, and that could be a huge lift. So. Well,
and I think to your point, testing is really what it's all about. I mean, it's really about testing and seeing what works. And for example, we are running some LinkedIn sponsored update campaigns. And there's one specific piece of content that has produced really, really great click-through rates, but the conversion rates on the landing page has been dismal. And I've been trying to figure out why, compared to the other landing pages, it's almost identical, and yet it's so much worse. So we're sort of in the process of testing that. But to your point, it's really sometimes a small tweak that can make a big difference. So, Eric, thanks for the time today. I know you're a busy guy, and we really appreciate Lander, and you guys do a great job. So thank you for the time. Any final words before we close?
I would like to, if we've got a few minutes, I would just like to mention, I don't know how many folks out there are using Lander or considering a landing page creation platform. If they check with us, or if they are using with Lander as of right now, we've made some huge changes. I know we've discussed a little bit about it through email. We've made a huge makeover of our website, and more importantly, we are leaving the freemium model that we've been using previously behind, and we have switched to a new 30-day free trial mode. And what users can do, or what visitors can do, is they'll have their choice of any of the plans that we advertise. They can choose that plan, begin using it for free for the first 30 days, and then afterwards they have the option to upgrade and continue using the paid portion of that actual plan, or upgrade to a larger or smaller plan, or if they don't, their plan will go into a read-only mode, which basically means that they would still have access to the platform, their accounts. They could make edits, create their landing pages. However, they wouldn't be able to publish the campaigns until they consider them free. So I just wanted to throw that out there real quick because, as you know, McKay, we've been in the middle of that. That just happened this week. This is breaking news about Lander. So I don't know if there's any folks that already use Lander, maybe have questions about that, or any folks that are maybe considering Lander. That's what we're doing now. We're offering a 30-day free trial on any of the plans across the board. Use it for 30 days at no commitment. If you like us, continue to pay, and that's the way it's going to work. So
that's great. Good stuff. Eric, thanks again. And just again to let you know, Log My Calls has these webinars every week. Go to logmycalls.com/webinar. You can watch past webinars and register for new ones. And then if you're interested, go to logmycalls.com and just click on the pricing button up there. You can see our plans. They start at $69 a month. And I believe all of our plans have either a 15-day or a 30-day free trial on the front of that. So, yeah, thanks for the time, everybody. Eric, thank you very, very much, sir. Appreciate it. And watch for the email from us tomorrow, everyone, with this recording attached to it. So have a wonderful day, everybody. Bye-bye.